Welcome back to the Rules of Engagement. Before I jump into our next segment, let me remind you guys about a YouTube site, youtube.com/official MLGSC2. Every single WCS match, MLG Winter Championships, Play of the Days, Rules of Engagements, they're all there in 1080p quality for free. So go ahead, check them out. Usually within about 1 to 2 hours of when anything ends, it's up there on YouTube very, very quickly and high quality for free. Also remember, Rules of Engagement videos, leave questions there and I answer them on the Q&A segment. So it's, we do interactive stuff as well on YouTube. A lot of awesome content. Go ahead and check it out. Next segment of the day is going to be another game between Ryung and Polt. It's going to be their third deciding game of their series, which is why we see Ryung in the playoffs and not Polt. So I'm sorry if I spoiled that, but this show isn't about hiding results. So a couple things to talk about are one base Terran openings, effective with fast third CC, and also how to correctly play a containment game. So we're going to jump this replay here at the 5-minute mark. And one thing, if you'll know, I'm always a pessimist about one base Terran play as far as trying to kill your opponent. When it's people do like Marine tank pushes or whatever, like Illusion tried versus Tasia in Game 2 of their series, I was pretty pessimistic about his odds. I don't really like one base. That's just a personality trait of mine. But harassment-based one base TVP can be very successful if your harassment slows down their economy as much as you're slowing down your economy. And to make that happen, you have to first understand, okay, how many more workers do they have than me? I need to kill those workers and then some, because those workers have already been mining, right? So if you could do something like this thing right here, where Ryung, first of all, to note the builds, I kind of jumped in at the 5-minute mark. Polt did a relatively fast expansion to standard, get 2 Marines in a reactor in a command center build. Ryung has been playing a one-base build. He got a couple of Marines and Window Mines early. Now he's getting a Tech Lab on the factory, and he's getting a Medevac as well, and he's playing this with 2 gas, so he can follow this up with Banshees. He's not going to be expanding quite as fast behind us as you might see in some cases. But if he can get this bunker up, it's going to really be annoying for Polt to deal with this expansion. So this is one way you can make your one base be more effective. You can delay your opponent taking a natural for a long time. Of course, Polt sees this happen. He says, no way. I'm not going to let that happen. That would be too annoying. And so, yes, he eats a Window Mine hit, but he stops the bunker from getting up. And that's going to allow him to take that expansion later when he wants to. Going forward here, a couple things you're going to see. The next step is, of course, the Window Mine drop. A Window Mine drop is something that works in this case so effectively because he was threatening the front of Polt. So all of Polt's units were at this front base, and then that means the Medevac can get in here and drop a Window Mine. And all you have to do is drop the Window Mine, and you're already cost effective. Like, it's already efficient. All it needs is 1 kill and a scan. In fact, all it needs is a scan and it's cost efficient. So it's already got an SCV kill. It'll force the scan off, already efficient. Same thing, he moved that front Window Mine down beneath the natural. That's going to force the scan as well. It's already cost efficient. A scan, it could be a mule, which is worth a lot more than a single Window Mine in almost all cases. Not always, but obviously Polt still needs to scan to kill it because he has to take his expansion on. And back here, he has to scan and kill this so he doesn't continue to lose SCVs every couple seconds. So he still has to use this scan unless he has a Raven on the way. But it's just a great way to try to catch back up in economy. And you can see now, of course, he's taking a very fast 3rd CC against Polt, who's still on 2 CCs. And here's what's important. So the economic damage has been pretty equal. In fact, Ryung's got a slight advantage in SCV count, although he's still trying to morph his 2nd command center, so his SCV production isn't quite as fast right now, 1 SCV versus 2 being produced. But overall, it's a roughly equal game from this point of view, except for one very noteworthy difference. All right, as we can talk about, we'll fast forward this a bit, the effect of his fast 3rd CC. Because Ryung's taking his fast 3rd CC, look at his production buildings. 1 barracks, 1 tech lab, 2 barracks, 2 tech lab, 1 starport. His opponent, Polt, has 3 barracks, 1 tech lab, 1 starport, and he's building 2 more barracks right now, whereas Polt's only building a single barracks. So this is what's very important, is at this point in the game, we can see going forward. The 3rd command center, much faster from Ryung. But both players are approaching, well, they're slowly kind of approaching Polt's been, I think he lost a few more SCVs in the harassment. Both players are working their way to 2 base saturation, so taking a 3rd base becomes very important. And Polt has a strong army. So yes, Polt's behind in economy, but if he can get a strong contain setup, he can limit his opponent to 2 bases for a very long time, have a lot of map control, And then, yes, in the early mid-game, he'll be weaker, but because of his position, his opponent won't be able to take advantage of his extra strength. So here where it's all about, yes, looking at economy, Ryung's going to get more far and far ahead of the workers with the extra 3rd CC. But at the current situation, if we look at the Marine count, Polt has more Marines. And if he can use those Marines to set up a very controlling position against his opponent, that's where he can make it up and win the game. So right here is an important aspect of thought. You can think, okay, I need to slow my opponent's 3rd base. From Polt's point of view, he doesn't know if there's a 3rd base set up there or not. He does know the 3rd base was built fast. He scanned that earlier because he knows there was already expansion there. So he knows his opponent has the 3rd CC. He wants to go deny and contain his opponent for as long as possible. So he's going to move over here and go ahead and see what he can do. Now he scans and he sees, okay, there's no 3rd CC quite yet. This is when he wants to set up a containment so his opponent cannot take the 3rd CC. And then, yes, he can start building the 3rd CC late. In fact, right now it's going down. But as long as he can, once it's finished, he can move it over here, he'll be ahead if Ryung can never get this 3rd base location, right? Or at least a very, very long delay. So this is where it's very important to think about the unit positioning. So right here, he can move these tanks up a little further and just set up and contain this location. But if his tanks are stuck here, they don't control anything about the 3rd base. His opponent can easily take this 3rd location. His opponent could easily take a spot right here and cut him off from reinforcements. He's giving up the whole map just to deny this top right location. So what's a really cool angle, actually, is if instead of doing that, he says, you know what? Instead of just controlling his 3rd base, I can move around back here and move up here, right? Because if he moves up here and takes this location right here with his tanks, if he can take that location right there where the X is, all of a sudden, the siege tanks, let me actually move this up a tiny bit. We're good. Also, will control this area. All right? So not only do they control the access to the 3rd base, so they still deny the 3rd base just as well being right here because Ryung can't move back and forth between natural and 3rd, so he can't defend the 3rd base. So you still shut the 3rd base down, taking this location, but you also control this ramp. And that means your opponent only has the left side of the map to work with. So you're not only denying the top right base here, but you're also denying the entire right side of the map. It's all basically shut off from your opponent if you take this location. So that's the advantage of the containing game. If you can hold this location, you can force your opponent to only a certain section of the map. And then it's very difficult for them because, yes, they can go and try to take the left side bases, but they still have to be careful about you attacking across the top, as well as you can still fight for the left side at the same time. So that's a really key location on Belshire Vestige. You can go ahead and take. You can see here, if you take this spot, they can't move along this ramp. They can't take the 3rd base, and this whole right side of the map is basically yours for the taking. But Polt, I think, is feeling that, okay, I'm a little bit too far behind for my opening. I can't just be happy sitting in the contain game, so he's going for that game-winning move. And this is really what decides the game, is Polt being greedy, saying, you know what, I don't think I can make it happen. I know I'm going to fall behind in upgrades. I haven't prioritized upgrades. My 3rd base is late. Now I say yes, that 3rd. And now it's too late to grab that position, right? Because Ryung now has siege tanks there. It's too late to take that. Yes, Polt still has a few more units, but he had to take it earlier when he had overwhelmingly more units, and he could definitely take that location. Now he's stuck, walking back and forth, saying, "What do I do?" And all from Ryung's point of view, Ryung's just going to keep scanning. He has a central tower here to make sure there's no drops in the main. That's super important. And he just has to pace Polt's army and play defense because the worker difference is very high. The upgrade difference is going to kick in as well, and that's all from hitting that fast 3rd CC. So this is where Polt gets desperate, and we can just play it out here. He's going to try to make something happen on the sledge, but Ryung has enough defenses there. Polt's going to try to siege from the high ground, but Ryung has enough tanks to defend. Polt finds a little avenue right here where he can get a siege tanks, but you know what? Ryung can just give up this section of his main. It doesn't control the ramp. If it doesn't control the ramp, it's not that important. He's trying to elevator attack, but Ryung shuts it down. And also, Ryung just has too many units, right? He's 30 feet ahead. He's just going to go ahead and just try to mow it over with brute force and marine strength, forcing Polt back. And it's just too many units. In another minute or two, he's going to go ahead and win. Let's watch the end of the game of how Ryung takes advantage of that. Knowing he's now stronger than his opponent, he can just go ahead and go for the kill, move straight into the main, when Polt was still trying to figure out what's his next step. And from here, of course, it's just a slaughter and Polt GG's. So this is a really, really cool game. For a couple reasons. One, is it shows Polt was trying, so Ryung tried a more technical opening early on, staying one base, trying to win a mine drops, and I think he did a Banshee as well. And he was able to execute it well enough that it paid off and it was an even game. Then Polt tried to do the more technical low econ mode with 2 bases, try to set up the perfect contain, but he kind of missed his opportunity to set up that contain. And then he got desperate. He wasn't able to make critical damage happen. Ryung got way ahead and won the game. So what's super important to realize is unless you're extremely clever tactically and you think you can outmaneuver, outmicro your opponent to a high degree, when in doubt, always macro. Just keep making SCVs because, like you saw there, even though Polt had the siege tank position at the bottom, it didn't really stop the production. And once Ryung got enough Marines, he's like, it's all right, we'll just run him over. There's no tactical advantage that's more important than having twice as many units as your opponent. So if you don't know what to do, just play the most macro-focused opening, do the most macro-focused decisions ever, because it's the simplest. Your opponent can be clever. If you just have a bigger sledgehammer than them, you're going to knock them out with the one punch. So macro is always more important. When in doubt of what to do tactically, always macro. It's a little bit easier than trying to play fancy contain games. And also, understand key positions on the map. If you're going to try to do some fancy contain type situations, like we saw Polt do, cutting economy to get that early army to try to take control of the map, understand the exact locations you want to aim for. Right? Polt kind of wasted time going up to the top right, and then realizing that there's no point in holding that position. It's not a useful position. And then he went back to the left side, and all that time spent moving around let Ryung basically have enough units that all of a sudden the army advantage wasn't very different, and that's why Polt lost the game. So understand exactly where you want to go if you're going to try to do a fancy army timing. Know exactly where you want to set up to help start the foundations of a mid-game contain. This wraps up our second segment. We'll take a short break and be right on to our third segment, taking a look at one of Ryung's games versus Alive.